Hey guys, Joe here with SimVRlabs, and we are going to go with part 2 of the Come Labs With Me series, where we are doing our SimVRlabs mod for the L410 Turbolet aircraft. And if you remember on the last video, we sort of ended with me trying to find that hidden click spot to hide the yoke, and turns out it had to be put down here with the actual yoke. This is the front view, this is the top view, you can see it on the top view. Had to be put right there. It took a lot of trial and error to figure out exactly where that thing wanted to be, but putting it right there, put it where it needs to be to do what it's trying to do. Now today, what we're going to do is we're going to try and finish out some AC 3D work and get to where we don't need AC 3D anymore. We can do the rest of it just in the Notepad++ with the VR goggles on. Do the rest of it in VR and do it with the VR controllers and get it all tuned up. So, but we need to add a few more things to the cockpit.obj, and the only way to do that is in AC 3D with our suite of tools that we have. So. Well, the major things I want is these double levers, so the props, the mixtures, and the throttle. We need a center click spot to be able to operate both of those at the same time. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So I'm here in AC 3D, and what I want to do to make things easier to see what we're doing on the center console is actually bring in the object with the textures for the center console, so I can sort of see what these are better. So if I go to File, Import, it's just like bringing in, like when we brought in the yokes, we're going to bring in the center console, and you're looking in the Objects folder for an OBJ that will say something about the center console, and you'll see here there's middle console, so that's probably it. A lot of times they're not necessarily named as easily as you would hope they're named, so you might have to do some searching around, and I'll show you how to do some searching around. So if I go ahead and bring in middle console, it's going to work and it's going to show the center console, but if it was all named some weird stuff and you're looking for the center console, you would search for something that you know is on the center console in Notepad. So let's do that real quick. I'll show you what I mean. So say I go into Notepad++ and I'm looking for the center console. I know it's got the throttle on it, so I'm going to search for throttle in these objects. So say it could be, it could be in passenger cabin. I'll open that one. It could be in liner pilot. It could be in side panels, or it could be in middle console, which we know it's in. So I'll just do a search and I'll just type throttle, like THRO, just search for something like that. I'll click find next. It says I can't find it in that one, so then I'll just click on this one. I'll click find next. Oh, it found it in that one. So it could be this liner pilot one, so I could go and I could import the liner pilot one and see what that is. Side panels, nope, it's not in side panels. Middle console, yep, there it is in middle console. There's 1 and there's 0, so that's a left throttle or right throttle. There's the mixtures, there's the flaps. Okay, this one's probably going to be your middle console. If that makes sense, that's how I find things. I search for things that I know is attached to the object that I'm looking for. Sounds trivial now because that one was named exactly what it's supposed to be. They did a really good job of naming their objects on this L410. So I brought in the middle console, and you can see it's still kind of a mess. I mean, you can see better what it is, but you can't exactly see what it is because there's no textures. Well, if I go in here to 2D and I click texture, it brings in the textures. If I go to 3D, that brings in the textures for front, left, and top, because these are the 2D windows. This 3D window still doesn't have it, but if I click on 3D and I click texture, it textures it. Now everything's blue wireframe because I have everything selected. I need to go to edit, select nothing, and boom. Now it's easier to see. And now I can, so you see how my camera is like not real intuitive there when I rotate around is because I haven't given the camera anything to like look at. So I'm going to click on like a center spot here. I'll just click on this little guy, right? And I'll go view, look at selection. And now it's going to zoom in and out right on that guy, and it's going to rotate around him. So that's kind of how you work around that. Let's edit, select nothing. And this is an easier way just to see sort of what we're looking at. Okay, so obviously I'm a little bit backwards here, so this would be more the pilot's view right there. Okay, so these are the throttle, and these are going to be your props, right? Because it says props right there. And then that makes these up here, these two right here, the mixture. Okay, so when I want to hide that, so when I click on, so say I click on this one, I'm clicking on this one, that's the actual object in the other thing that I brought in. It's the other import that I brought in. And the way I know is I go to Tools, Hierarchy View. I've highlighted that. It's going to be blue in here. And I can go all the way to the bottom and see it's there. Well, I know that that is not in the cockpit.obj. If I roll up here, that's in the middle console obj. Everything under middle console is right there. So I don't actually want that. I want to keep the ones in the cockpit obj are the ones I'm working with. So I'm just using this middle console obj just as a guide to see what the heck I'm looking at. So I can turn it on and off as I want, right? So turn this off, and then I'm going to turn the textures back off so that I get the white here. And so I can see that based on what I was looking at, these are the throttle, these are the props, and these are the mixtures. So say I want to go ahead and make a middle lever for these throttles, right? So I'm going to click on one of them. That one looks fine. Actually, I like this one better. Something weird about the, because it's angled weird, this one looks a little bit more normal. So we'll go with this one. I'm going to highlight it, right? And then all I'm going to do is, see it highlighted it right here. And that's definitely in the cockpit obj. This is middle console. This is in the cockpit obj. It's towards the end of it. It highlighted it. I'm going to go up to edit and duplicate. Okay, hit duplicate. Now it looks like nothing happened, except on here something did happen. On the hierarchy view, at the very top, it put a new poly. Now the new poly is not yet in the cockpit obj because it's above it. It put it in the world. So right now it's here, but it's like not in the cockpit obj. So I need to drag it down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it exactly where the other one was, right? So the very first thing I'm going to do before I do that is position it. So I can see, let's get the textures back on, or off, I mean. I can see that it doesn't look like it did anything, but it actually put one directly on top of the old one. So I have 3 of them here, even though I don't see the other one. But it made the new one, and it highlighted the new one. So all I'm going to do is click with my left mouse button and hold it down, and just drag it where I want it to go. So I want it to go like right in the middle, right? Now I'm in the front view, so it's literally not giving me any kind of ability to move it in and out. It's just up and down, left and right. And I want to kind of position it as best I can in what I think feels and looks like the middle, which I would say about there. And that's it. Now I've got 3 of them. I've got this one, and this guy. Now, with the middle ones, I like to scale them up a little bit. So I'll go in here to scale. I'll scale the X, the Y, and the Z all up to 103. 103, 103, 103. And then when I hit scale, you'll see it grow just a little bit. Scale. See that? It grew a little bit just to make it easier to grab. Position it just a little higher. So in VR, that's going to be easier to grab. Now what I want to do is I want to select nothing. And I'm going to select this one. Why? Because I need to know where to drag this guy to. I know this guy is my middle guy because he's at the very top. I need to know where to drag him to. And I know that down here, that guy is blue. And I want to put this one exactly with this guy to keep the animations the same. So I'll leave him highlighted blue, and I'm going to take my guy here, and I'm going to click and hold and just roll it down, keeping the mouse button down so it gets to the blue, and I'll let go right on top of him. Puts him right there. That's it. Now, this one is an exact copy of the one that I copied, which means even the dataref is going to be the exact same. So I want to change this dataref to manipulate both of them at the same time. Okay, so I'll go into X-Plane Object Properties. Now I'm looking at the object properties of the one I have highlighted, which is the left one, right? And I can see that's engine throttle 0. Sim flight model engine throttle 0. Minimum 0, maximum 1 is the dataref values, okay? And it's on a drag axis Z, which is fine for now. We're going to change that later, but it's fine for now. So I'll go, the other one is going to be engine throttle 1, and I can just click on it once, and it'll say engine throttle 1. And then I can click on the middle one, and it's engine throttle 0 as well. Well, that's not what I want. I actually want engine throttle, and I believe it's underscore all. I believe that does all of them, right? So I'll hit just X out of that. Wait, I did that to the wrong one. So I'm going to Control Z, right? Control Z will undo what you did. So I'm going to actually, there we go. Now I've highlighted the middle, right? I clicked in the middle, but it actually highlighted the wrong one. So you got to make sure you look at what you're doing. So if I'm not mistaken, it's actually, I don't think it's engine throttle all. I think it's throttle ratio all. Matter of fact, so what I'll do when I'm unsure, because it's been a while and I don't quite remember, is I'll go and I'll look at one that I know I've done before that's sort of the same thing. So I'm looking for like the DO228 here. I'll go in here and I'll search, find THRO. Throttle ratio, yeah, that's it. Actually, throttle ratio 1. Throttle all, yeah, it's going to be this. So it's going to be sim cockpit to control throttle ratio all. I'm almost 100% positive that's it. I'm like 99% positive that this is right. Throttle ratio underscore all. Yeah, yeah, okay. That's the center one, right? And so I will then make sure that's there. I'm going to edit, select nothing, and I'm going to go ahead and this is hidden. I'm going to select it as a group. I'm going to unhide it, select it as a group, delete it, because I'm going to go in and check it out in X-Plane. So save this as 7 and X-Plane, bulk exports into there. Go ahead and hop in here and reload it. Now I'm going to test it first, make sure it works, and then if it works, I want to turn on the click spots too, just to look at the green click spots. Yeah, that works. That's operating both of them. I can grab the outside of it. I can't grab the outside of it. I can grab this side, but this side's not working for some reason. But both of them are working, and right side works, and I've clearly messed up the left side. So let's look at show clickable regions. Yep. So middle one works. That's kind of weird. Right one. Middle one and right one. Okay, let's just see what it looks like in here. So middle one is, oh, I messed that up when I did that to all. Okay, that needs to be 0. Okay, so let's go back into You can see I got a little messed up there. Let's go back into AC3D and fix that, no problem. Open up 7. Select nothing. Select by object, that guy. We will fix him up. He needs to be throttle bracket 0 bracket. Okay. And let's click on this and make sure that's throttle without the underscore. Throttle bracket 0, throttle bracket 1. Good. And throttle ratio all. Now, I want to flip the normals on those. Because the normals are flipped on these, which means they're not getting the green line. Now I kind of want a green glow with them. So what I'm going to do is actually scale them a bit. Kind of the same way, 102 is what I'm thinking. Just so they get some sort of green glow around the outsides of them. I don't want them completely transparent, right? So I'll hit scale, this one, scale. And I'll take this middle one, raise it up just a bit so it's easier to click. There. Yep, looks good. And then I'll save it. As 8. Go ahead and bulk export. Actually, it gave me that error, so let's make sure that's panel PNG. Now, let's save it again as 8. Export it into there. Let that disappear. It's gone. Let's go ahead and reload it. Now, because I flipped the normals, you see how this green is there. That green will not be there. Hopefully now, though, I've got a green glow around each of them as I run my VR controller over it. It'll highlight just the one at a time. It'll be a nice, elegant solution for that. Okay, so there's the left side, there's right side, that's fixed, and there's the middle. Okay. Well, so if I move, yeah. So see how the middle stays with this one because I put it in the same animation as this side. Does that make sense? And then this side is kind of on its own, but it doesn't matter because when I grab the middle, it just moves them all. So that's all I wanted. I'm going to do the same thing with these props here. You can see they don't move much, but and I wonder if that's like if there's like a latch, like, or maybe that's just all it does. It just doesn't seem to move that much. Wait, what are these? What's that? It doesn't even seem to be clickable. Power friction. Oh yeah, that doesn't matter. We don't need friction. Okay, so we're gonna take these two and give it a middle click spot. We'll do the same thing with the mixture. Let's do that now. The other thing you can do when you, so I don't have the texture on there, when you want to find out what these are, like I'm pretty sure these are the props, but I don't know for sure, I can click on explain objects properties and just look at the dataref. So that's the mixture ratio, right? So I could have easily messed that up if I didn't look at what that was or if I didn't have that texture in there. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to take this one. Real simply, just do an edit duplicate, put him in the middle, scale him up, we'll go 103, then go to the objects properties of that guy. We'll go mixture ratio underscore all. Okay. That's it. Now we will go to the hierarchy view and put him with his brothers in the same animation, because see, it put it at the top. Whenever you make a new one, it puts it at the top. Find out where they live. Okay, his brothers live right there, so we'll take this one, put him in his home. Okay, he's home. I'll go edit, select nothing. I'm gonna select this one, do the same thing. Gonna find out what he is. He's gonna be the prop rotation speed, radials per second. Okay, let me figure out real quick what that is. Prop handle. Let's see, prop. There's a prop all. There's a prop all dataref. What is it? Prop 1. It's not going to be a Carinado plane. Carinado props are kind of funny. Let's look at the Baron. See what they did. Prop. So they shouldn't have used a. Yeah, there it is. Maybe it is all. Prop rotation 0 and 1. Surely there's an all. I don't know if a center click spot on their props. Yes, they do. Hold up now. What's their king air doing? Here, prop 0, 0, 1. Maybe there isn't a center prop. Maybe it has to be a. Yeah. Prop might have to be its own thing. You might not be able to do a center dataref on the prop. Let me check real quick. When in doubt, just search for it. Center prop dataref x plane. Click spot prop all. So search for stuff like that. Surely other people have dealt with this. There it is. Prop degrees all. Use this if you're playing as a manual. Prop rate. Yeah. Prop 0. Prop pitch degrees. Let's see here. Let's find prop. Spool time. Prop. sim aircraft, sim cockpit. Here we go. Prop sync. Engine prop mode, prop efficiency, prop angle degrees, nice. Like model forces, graphics, multiplayer, network, operation, override. Here we go. Prop position, radials per second. Oh, that's got to be it. That's it right there. Boom. Copy. All right, folks. That's it. So it would be radius sec all. Yeah, okay. All right, did I duplicate that already? I did not, so I'm gonna go edit, duplicate, move it over, scale it up, move it over a bit more. I'm gonna select nothing, select this guy, and put him in his home with his brother right there, and select the correct one. There it is. Okay. Select nothing. I'm going to save this as nine. Go ahead and bulk export. Reload. Now, next thing I want to do once we get that sorted out is we're going to get rid of this giant blob click spot, and we're going to bring in the trim wheel. I think that's how I want to handle that. I also want to look at this aileron trim and see if that little guy is animated. All right, one thing at a time here. So that one works, that one works, that one works, both of them. Right, that's all good. That one works, and in the middle is both of them. Boom. All right, I think we're good. We got those working together, these working together, and these working together. Yeah, yeah. Well, that middle one's hard to find because why? See, that's there, and then it's middle, and then it's not. So second I go right. Oh, that'll be good. I think it's fine. Yeah, it'll work. It's fine. Okay, so that's fine. So I want to check and see, does this actually animate? No, it doesn't. So I'll probably leave it the way it is. If that animated, I would actually bring this guy in, and I would go ahead and assign him as a switch. Get rid of a left and then a right, and make it a switch that moves. But let's do a couple things here. First of all, I'm gonna bring that in. We'll get that right, and I also want to change this flap. I want to get rid of the up and down like that, and I actually want to bring this handle in where you can grab it and move it, and it smoothly moves rather than jumps positions. Same thing with the parking brake. So this guy right here, he's kind of a jump down and up. I want to be able to grab that with the VR controller, move it smoothly through. I'll show you how to do that. So we'll go back into AC3D here. open where we're at. We are at number 9. Now, whenever every time you do that, you also want to kind of do what I'm doing now, which is take a look around and see if anything accidentally got broke. Because what'll happen is one time you don't know, you'll be clicking around and you'll actually move something that you didn't want to move, and so you'll see like a green click spot, like maybe this one will be like up here, like off to the right, and you're like, well, how'd that get up there? It's supposed to be right on top of that. Well, you accidentally clicked and dragged it while you were doing your thing. So you just want to look and see if anything's like out of place or whatever. Everything still looks fine. So we will keep moving. So I'm going to edit, select nothing, go ahead and try to find what we're looking for here. Select nothing, select that guy, make sure that's what we want. View, look at selection, yeah. So that's our elevator trim. Let's make sure. Objects, properties, elevator trim. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm going to move him out of the way, like that, right? And I'm going to bring in the other one. So I want to import middle console. Select nothing. See it? That's it, right there. I want to bring that guy in, right? There he is. Oh, there he is, right there. That wheel. That whole wheel I want to bring in. So I need to go to the hierarchy view. Just like the yoke, we're going to find that guy, and we're going to bring in the entire animation. That's all. This is the entire animation. That's it. It's one rotate and one poly. I'll click on this one to see if it's in any way related, just to see what it is. And nope, that's in no way related. That is, what is that? Yeah, it's something else. And this one, make sure it's in no way related. Yeah, that's what is that thing? Oh, that's the gear handle. Oh, we might want that. Yeah, I want to bring that in too. And I want to bring in the flaps handle, which is here. Okay, we'll bring all those in. Alright, so what I'm going to do is highlight the animation for the trim wheel. Right? We're going to do the same thing. I'm clicking and holding, dragging up to the top, right on top of that one. Okay, that's that one. Select nothing. Go get everything else I want. I want the gear handle, so I'll grab the whole animation right here, and I'll click and drag. Release it there, puts it on top of the trim wheel. Edit, select nothing, and I'm going to go get that flaps handle. Click on it. Alright, there it is. We're going to animation, bring it up into the cockpit.obj. And then I want that parking brake handle, but that's not in the center console. Actually, I don't need it. I don't need the whole handle. So that's cool. Okay, that's good. All right, so what we're going to do is now we're just going to go in. We're going to go in and select by group. Select this middle console obj and go ahead and delete it. Okay, and now we got these new fun things inside of our cockpit obj. All right, now I'll click on this old one that I moved over. Oh, I'm selecting everything by group. Select nothing, selected by object. This is the one I moved over out of the way. We're going to delete that one, but I want to make sure that we use the same data ref and the same values. It's going to be SimCockpit2 controls elevator trim, -1 min, maximum 1, right? And he's got it as an axis pick, so that would have never worked anyway in VR. We're going to set it actually as a rotate at some point, but I'm going to set it as an axis for now, just for testing. Okay, So I will go in here and I'm going to select this guy, and there he is, right? And I will give him his marching orders, right? So sort of leave that alone. And right now it wants to make that. Why does it want to do that? Hang on. Let's edit select nothing. I think there's too many things selected here. So right now it's saying it's an engine throttle when it's clearly not an engine throttle. Okay, so we want to make it the right thing. So axis on the X, we don't want it to be anything. On the Y, 0.12 is fine. And on the Z, we don't want it to be anything. What that means is it's going to be that colored line that you see in VR, that straight up and down line, would be something on the Y, nothing on the X, and nothing on the Z would make it straight up and down. If I added a Z component, it would give it a forward and backward slant. If I added an X component, that would be left to right. If I had nothing on the Y, nothing on the Z, and just a number on the X, that's the length of the number is the length of the line oriented to the left and the right because you're doing it on the X. Oriented up and down is doing it on the Y, and oriented in and out is doing it on the Z. 0.12 means 0.12 of a meter in the virtual space. So 0.12 of a meter up and down will move that thing from -1 to 1. So it's actually going to move pretty quick when I click and drag it with my mouse. I'm going to change all that to a drag rotate later, but for now we just want to get it working. And I want it to be the elevator trim. I just hit Control V there because I had it copied from before. The cursor, I'll leave it as a hand, and I'm going to make sure I call this elevator trim just to keep things clean and neat inside the cockpit.obj. And down here where it says wheel, this is how much it moves it every time you click once as you rotate your mouse wheel. So we'll give that a 0.1. That means it's going to take 20 clicks of your mouse wheel to go from all the way from the lowest range to the highest range. Now that's not very much. That's actually, those are pretty big jumps for elevator trim. So let's go to 0.05. Yeah, that should give you about 40 steps, and you should be able to trim out your thing with your mouse flying in 2D with that if you want, with the mouse wheel. So we'll leave it like that. Make sure it's 0 to 1. Which it shouldn't be. It should be -1 to 1, right? There, and that should be right. Okay, so that should be golden. This one is the flap handle, right? So I want to go into Objects Properties and make sure it's got its. So it's defaulting. If it doesn't know what to put it at, it's defaulting it as something, and it's copying the engine throttle, which is fine. You just got to know that it's doing that, and you got to fix it. So we'll go 0 and 0, 0 to 1, and then it's going to be, this is flap handle ratio. So it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's cockpit to controls flap underscore handle underscore ratio. Pretty sure that's right. Call this flap handle. And then that'll give you the ability to 0.25. Actually, it's 3 steps. We'll go 0.33. There we go. That'll give you the ability to move that. That should roll smoothly through the flaps instead of jumping up and down. So you should be able to grab it and move it. Okay, we got that one, and then we'll check out this one, the gear handle. I think it's the same thing. It's going to be 0, 0, 0 to 1, some cockpit to controls gear handle ratio, and call this gear handle, right? And on these, I want to make sure I disable the drawing because I brought in the textured element, right? I want the textured element in there, but I want it not to draw twice. It's just like the yokes. I'll disable the drawing on that one. Go back to this one. disable the drawing on this one, right? And then go back to my trim wheel, which is here. Disable the drawing on that one. These are probably all going to Z-fight that flicker. So I'll change them all a little bit bigger. 101. Just barely bigger, just so it doesn't flicker. Click that one up. Click that one up. Click that one up, right? Now I want to make sure these are all on the right texture panel PNG. Everything's got to be panel PNG, right? So that's panel PNG. Select nothing. Object, texture, panel PNG. Select nothing. Check this one. Object, texture, panel PNG. Select nothing. Now, when I turn the textures off, the way to check it and make sure it worked is to turn the textures off, and they should all go to wireframe. Yep, and they did. Anything on the 2D that didn't go to wireframe still has the textures and would still throw up an error. So there's that. I could go ahead and take this one and delete him, right? So actually, I'm going to just hide him. That should delete it, but leave it there just in case we need him back for whatever reason. And I can take that, which is flaps up, hide him, or gear up, I'm sorry. I can hide gear down. I can hide flaps up. I can hide flaps down. So these should roll smooth, that should roll smooth, that should roll smooth. And this should be my parking brake. Yep, and it's on a rotation. That's going to be it. So let's actually fix that. It's on a toggle right now, and the toggle is going to make it all the way from the bottom to all the way at the top, and there's not going to be an animation. I want to change that to an axis, just like we just did. 0.12 on the Y. 0 to 1, and it's actually going to be a different data ref. Cockpit 2 controls, what's that, parking brake ratio. Whenever the word ratio is there, it's actually a float value, which means it rolls from 0 to 1 smoothly through thousandths of a point, thousandths of a value. So it's 0 to 1, and then when you move it just a smidge, it's 0.001, and it barely goes up on the animation. So the animation should be smooth and should go from 0 to 1, and the same thing with the rest of them. So ratio is a good word to know in your data refs when you're hunting through data refs. That's a hand. That's cool. Tooltip. We'll just make sure this is called parking brake. Tooltips are not needed. They're just good. It just keeps your OBJ clean, and it also, when you roll your mouse over it in 2D, it shows you what's up. And we'll put it, who cares? If they click it once with the mouse wheel, they click it the whole thing. Okay, that's that. And then I think we are good to go. Let's make sure I deleted that other thing out of there, which I did. That other OBJ, that middle console OBJ, we don't want that in there. I'm going to save this as the LET number 10. I think it's our final one today. I'm going to go edit, X-plane, bulk export. Right there. Let's jump in here and see what we got. Alright, so no more crazy blob. Now we have a nice thing that goes all the way from the bottom to all the way at the top. That's great. That's beautiful. I might even flip the normals on that because I don't even care. Like I don't want the green to be there. I just want those beautiful textures to show through. So I think I'm going to flip the normals. So even when you grab it, you'll feel it. You'll feel like a click on it. You just won't see the green. And I like that sometimes, especially when there's great textures underneath. I don't want to block those textures. So let's see what this does. Okay, that landing gear is not doing anything. We'll have to check and see what's up with that. I may have the wrong data ref there. Flaps aren't doing anything either. I might have the wrong data ref there. Let's hide this. Parking brake does work. Okay, let's figure out what's going on with flaps and gear. Alright, so let's go into another laminar plane to see where I messed up. Because I'm sure I did. Just any laminars cockpit.obj really. I can search for gear. Oh, let's see, landing lights. Where's the gear? Oh, you know what? I don't think there is a gear on the 172. It's not retractable. So let's try the 747. Like, who cares? It's gonna be the same. Landing altitude button. Oh gosh, should have done another. What is this? Gear handle, detent, gear handle. Oh, it's got its own data ref. Doggone it. Just trying to find a standard data ref, not anything crazy. Okay, fine. Try this one. Gear handle status. Maybe that's it. Gear handle status. Try that. Now what I'll do is I'll just go and find what I had as the wrong one here. Yep, I put landing gear ratio. We're going to actually just override that without going into AC3D. I'm just editing it straight by hand. Reload that and see if that fixed it. I don't recognize gear handle status, but maybe that is what it always is. Let's try another aircraft just to see while that's loading. Let's see what the PC-12 has for it. Gear handle anim, pump, gear handle down, toggle. That's a toggle. Huh. Yeah, that didn't work either. So let's see. So this is this is another thing where you're like, okay, so cockpit 2 controls. Thought for sure it was in cockpit 2. Gear handle down. Oh, that's a Boolean. So Boolean means it's either down or it's not. So what we're looking for is a gear ratio. So it's not under cockpit 2 controls. So obviously the one I put in doesn't even exist. So we're looking for, let's do a search for gear. You can use prop. Okay, so that, I don't think that's it. There's 245 gears, so let's try and, there's 1 out of 3 in gear ratio. Prop aircraft gear ratio. Okay, so gear landing gear. Oh, let's see, landing. Okay, let's go through and see here. Failures, 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 failures. Gear deploy ratio, that's it. That's it. Knew I'd find it. Gear deploy ratio. Watch this. L10 cockpit. Paste. Save it. Reload it. That's gonna do it. And then flap ratio, what was that? Let's go find that one. Flap. Flap deploy. Nope. Flap ratio. There we go. That's multiplayer. We don't want that one. Multiplayer, multiplayer, position, multiplayer. There's like 19 of these. Yep. And then there it is. Sim cockpit 2 controls, flap ratio. Go back to there, which is here. It's not flap handle ratio, it's just flap ratio. Let's paste. So you see how it matters, obviously, to get the details right, but I was close. I mean, it's been a while. First, let's check the gear now. It's still not working. Let's reload it again. So we've got flap ratio, XYZ 0 to 1. Gear deploy ratio, XYZ 0 to 1. Drag axis hand. Okay. There's the flaps. It's backwards, but we got it. No problem. Gear, however, is still not working. Unless maybe the thing is just too high. Nope, that should be rolling smoothly. So the gear's not working. The flaps are good, except for backwards. The parking brake's good. Let's try to figure out this gear here. Gear deploy, sim aircraft, sim flight model 2, gear deploy ratio. Let's look at another aircraft here, because I know I've got one that I use the standard gear on. Let's look at the PC-12. I already got that up. PC-12, gear handle down. That was a toggle. Let's go look at the 310. X-Aviation 310. Original gear. Now they do the same thing. They toggle the gear handle down. I thought for sure. Well, I know for sure on the IXEG, I don't have that on my laptop here. The moo, let's see the moo. Gear, warning, gear handle down, toggle. It's a toggle. Everything's a toggle. I know there's some that you move. Let's look at the Texan. Yeah, he's got his own. Try one more and then we're done. We'll move it back to a toggle if we have to. The 210. What you got, brother? Pump gear, gear handle status. That's a toggle again. You know what? Let me check one more thing here. What am I trying to do? Flap gear deploy ratio. Deploy ratio. See if there's another deploy ratio. Deploy ratio. Flap handle. Gear deploy ratio. This is how far the landing gear is. Okay, so that obviously wouldn't be it because it's not. See how it's not writable? When it says no, this is writable, yes or no. I should have looked at this. When there's an N, it means no, which means you can't actually affect that. This is a reading, not something you can affect. So what we're looking for is a gear ratio that is a Y that you can affect. So it's not going to be a deploy ratio, so we'll see if there's a gear ratio. There's not. So gear deploy. Okay, here we go. Sim aircraft parts gear deploy. That's a float. It's a Y, and it says landing gear deployment 0 to 1. I don't know if that's going to work because that, I think, will actually actuate the parts. I think that's going to actuate the actual gear, the landing gear itself, at the speed with which you actuate the handle, which wouldn't be right. So let's keep looking here. These multiplayers are not what I want. I want to get through all 19 of those. See what else we got. That's it, really. See if there's a gear handle. Gear handle position. That's a Boolean. That doesn't help us. It's not a float. That's a Boolean. Status. Maybe that's why the other ones that I saw are custom datarefs. Because there isn't, I guess maybe there isn't a standard X-plane dataref that can do that. I mean, I can try. So I could try this one, see what happens. Well, wait a second. That's what this is. That's going to be the animation. We could try to just work the animation and see what happens. Let's try that. If this doesn't work, we'll just go back to the toggle. It's fine. But we will give this a shot. The deal with just working animations is sometimes you'll move the part, but the part won't actually connect with what it's supposed to do to the airplane. So right now the gear is down, so I could move it up, but when I let go, it's going to snap it back to down because the gear is down. So yeah, so I could move it. Okay, that worked. Oh yeah, and clearly that brought the So it's bringing the gear down. Is it bringing it down at the speed? Yeah, it is. It's bringing it up and down at the speed at which I move the handle. So if I put it halfway, oh yeah, it's gonna move it, yeah. Whoa. Okay, that's not really realistic, I guess. See what it's doing. I can bring it all the way down and I don't know, we might leave that. That's alright, I guess. Let's come out of the plane and see what's going on. Come on down. Okay. Let's open that. See if I can actuate that from here. That would be cool. No, I can't. Yeah, I can. Yeah, so yeah, that's unrealistic. It's obviously moving it at the speed. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to whoa, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to the toggle and then let it do its own speed animation on that, which is fine, no big deal. Okay, so we are done for the day. That's what I wanted to show you. You could see that we did quite a bit of work there. We had to look up some datarefs, so that's great. I went to, this is Sim Innovations. There's a couple of websites, the X-SciTech Panel's website. There's several websites that have the dataref list, and it's got this whole thing. And like I showed you before, up at the top, you can see whether it's writable or not, which means it's something that you could put in the you can attach to a lever or a button, and it'll actually do something. Or if it's just a readout, like this one here. This is just a read. Like if I wanted to manipulate door Z, the Z of a door, I couldn't, but I could read that and then have my aircraft do something based on the results it gets from this data ref. So that's sort of what the difference is between a readable and a writable data ref. And then float, floats are point, 1,000th of a data ref between 0 and 1, and Boolean would be like 0 or 1. So that's sort of the difference between a Boolean and a float, or an integer. An integer is actually a whole number value. So that is some education for you, and clearly we're getting more and more ready to jump into VR and tune some more knobs and go ahead and make a VR config file, which we'll do in the next video, and we'll get this thing buttoned up, wrapped up, and ready to roll in VR. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll talk soon. Bye.